Chris Broussard joining us. Okay, so help me out. Let me understand if there's a correlation there. Markelle Fultz is working out for the Lakers tomorrow. So that means he hasn't been guaranteed by the Celtics they're going to take him 1 overall. So is this hey, they're wheeling and dealing, like, well, let's go get Blake and let's get Gordon Hayward, or let's trade the 1 for more pieces? Like, it feels like they could make a huge series of moves combining free agency and the draft pick to go for it now.
Yeah, and look at Danny Ainge's history. What's he best known for? Getting Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen in the same summer and building the championship team.
And trading him and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry.
That was
the
amazing.
greatest trade in the history of the sport.
That's even better trade, right? That's an even better trade. So, yeah, you can't put anything past Danny Ainge. So I think what we are seeing now is that they may be more in win now mode than people thought. And again, I think they may think they're closer to Cleveland than a lot of others do. There are those that think at some point they need to trade Isaiah Thomas because next summer, he's going to want max money, and rightly so. But do you give him max money? Or, if you get a Blake Griffin for a year, I'd like to see how those two play together. Because if Isaiah, as good as he is, if he's your best player, there's a ceiling on how far you're going. You're not winning a championship. You can go far, but you're not winning a championship. If Blake Griffin or Big is your best player, I think you got a better shot at winning it.
Okay, so I think my biggest question coming out of the finals is, what does it do in terms of the motivation to Gordon Hayward and to Chris Paul? Because Chris Paul especially, okay, because he's 32 years old, and he's always been viewed as a probable Hall of Fame player, right? A really good player.
Don't you think he's a definite Hall of Famer?
I do, but again, I also don't think Dominique Wilkins is a Hall of Famer, and yet he is, right? Like, I just don't.
I'm assuming you don't think Tracy McGrady is.
No.
Because I think Neek, some of it's Neek was an icon. One of the best dunkers of all time.
Right.
Never got past the second round.
Tracy McGrady never really got past the first round.
No, never did get past
we're not drawing like a high bar. Like, he was in the East for a lot of his career, and he didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. Now,
the thing is, he was a monster in those series. If you look at his numbers.
Yes.
And I remember seeing him in his first playoff series against Milwaukee. And that was a Milwaukee team that had Big Dog. Sam Cassell, and Ray Allen. A stacked team on the perimeter. And McGrady was killing them. They lost the series, which I expected, but he was young. It was his first playoff, and I said, oh, he's got it. Then they're up 3-1 on Detroit. And then from that moment on, his career was never the same because they lost the 3. Then they lose 19 straight with Orlando that year, and Doc Rivers got fired. And Tracy
and then with Houston, like, it wasn't his fault that Yao Ming kept getting hurt, but Yao Ming kept getting hurt. But they
had 2-0 leads twice
to never get out of the first round. Yeah. Like, that's a hard pill to swallow.
The thing with McGrady, though, for I'd say a 5-year period, he was in the argument for best perimeter player along with Kobe. Would you give him that?
It was also one of the dark ages. It was kind of the dark era of the NBA where nobody Rasheed was super talented, but nobody liked Rasheed, right? Allen Iverson was getting buckets. Be like, he could be so much better. There was so many of those guys.
The dark ages.
It was.
You know what it was?
That's why they changed the rules. Because nobody likes these guys. It's too defensive oriented, and you have guys that go ISO and go get buckets, but their teams don't win.
Well, you said it, and we're seeing a changing of the guard from the isolation era. We still have it. LeBron, Dwayne Wade, you mentioned Iverson, some of the guys. Chris Paul and Steve Nash were ball dominant. You're seeing the kind of the fading away of the ball dominant teams.
I don't think
players.
you're seeing a fade away of the ball dominant. I think because Harden still is, and Russell Westbrook still is.
But are they going to win? You're not going to win.
We're not doing the ISO stuff as much anymore. Now it's the ball screen, and then one guy creates shots for others.
Which is how Nash was.
All right, I want to get your answer on the Chris Paul thing, and then I want to get Kristine in on whether or not she thinks Blake would actually leave or what's going to happen with the Clippers. So, Kristine, I didn't get your opinion. Do you think Blake, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, as of today? So that's not. I'm not. As of today, who stays, who goes?
I would say Chris and Blake stay. DeAndre is out.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think Blake should leave. Basketball-wise, I know he loves L.A. and it's his personal decision to stay. That's fine. But from a basketball standpoint, I think he'd be better served going to the East. And I think
better than Oklahoma City, where it's home?
I mean, I just think he doesn't. I don't even think that's a possibility of going from L.A. to Oklahoma City, just lifestyle-wise. I know he's from Oklahoma, but I don't think – I've never heard that that's a consideration.
It's going to be fascinating. Okay, so –
he's also hurt a lot, and I think, that's getting around. He's not tradable. He's not – worth as much as he was before.
The only thing about the hurt a lot thing, which I do hear, is there was a time when Kyrie Irving was hurt a lot. There was a time when Steph Curry was hurt a lot. Kevin Durant missed most of it, 51 games
Blake's
of a season because of a foot.
Kyrie, though.
No, it's a fair. I'm not saying what you're saying is not accurate. It's a lot like he's a choker until he's not. A guy's hurt until he's not. Yeah. So it all depends on what the medical people say.
Yeah.
And if they say look, the way he runs is screwed up. He's always going to be hurt. Right. Well, then he's always going to be hurt. And I don't know the answer to that. What about Chris Paul? Do you think we started talking about this. Is he motivated by watching Kevin Durant go okay, Kevin Durant went from one of the great players in the NBA, great scorers in the NBA, to a LeBron, is he better than LeBron discussion because he was in the finals? Does that motivate Chris Paul to go after the brass ring?
I mean, I know he's thinking about it, but I think at the end of the day, he stays in L.A., likes L.A. too much. And I don't think if he goes to San Antonio, I don't think that gets him over the top. Obviously, he's an upgrade from Tony Parker. You got a great coach. I would love to see it. I think it'd be great for the NBA. And I know, he has the utmost respect for Popovich and his ability to coach. So I'm not going to rule it out, but I think at the end of the day that he stays with the Clippers.
I started the
not necessarily for basketball reasons, but all the other reasons.
No, it's more a pain to move and you better be the greatest Clipper of all time. It might be the best trail in a trailer park, but you still have the best trail in a trailer park, right?
But even if he goes to the Spurs, the way that the money that they have, it's not like they'd have to gut their roster to get him. So they won't necessarily beat the Warriors.
They'd have the 3 stars, if you count Aldridge still. DeJounte Murray, you'd have to lose Jonathan Simmons. Yeah, you'd fill out the roster with a bunch of minimum level players.
So why take less money and move away from LA to have potentially the same chance of beating the Warriors?
You just said you can't bury somebody with the money, right? You just said the King Tut thing that
I didn't say I agree with it necessarily.
I don't think the money, honestly, I don't think the money should be a factor. You're talking about $200 million versus $150 million. You're talking about a guy who's had two max contracts already. He's smart with his money. Yep. If he loves LA, I think that could end up being the biggest factor. But if you're Chris Paul and if you're thinking basketball reasons, you can look at the Spurs and look at their roster. They always get the best out of minimum guys. I mean, Jonathan Simmons come on.
You could also, he doesn't have to take max money from the Spurs, by the way. You don't have to take $25 million.
But if you only take a little bit, like Kevin Durant's going to go from taking $35 million to $31.
Right.
You can't, if you only do that with the Spurs, drop $5 million, it's not going to really help them enough.
To me, this is Chris Paul getting that out there that maybe he's thinking about the Spurs so that he can get what he wants with the Clippers.
Which is a 5th year. Yeah. If the Clippers don't offer him a 5th year, he could be out of there.
And some roster.
And what the Clippers should do is they should offer him a 4th year and see, and make him walk. It's like the St. Louis Cardinals.
So start all over?
No, look, if you say same money and move, I'll bet you don't move. I mean, also you could challenge Chris Paul to the idea of, hey, dude, I understand we could pay you $200 million, 202 or whatever it is for 5 years, but it also makes us unable to put the right pieces around you. Work with us. You get to stay in L.A., maybe even sign a shorter-term deal, and we'll put the right kind of pieces around you, and that will help your legacy. Why go search for it somewhere else? I wanted to ask you about this with the Cavs. Kevin Love is the only guy they can move, right? That's the only thing that can. And to keep up with the Joneses, don't they have to? Haven't they seen Golden State and know that they don't have the skill level to compete at the right positions? Isn't that?
Yes.
Doesn't that seem like that makes sense?
They have to go try to get Paul George.
More than Carmelo.
Oh, yeah. No question. I mean, because Carmelo doesn't help you defensively. And it's not out of the realm of possibility you could get both. you can trade Kevin Love for Paul George. And I'm not saying these things are probable, but they're possible. And if Melo can get the Knicks to buy him out, they clearly want to just get rid of him. If they can get them to buy, he can get them to buy him out, then he could go to Cleveland for the minimum. But if you just trade, say, Love for Carmelo, it's arguable whether it helps you offensively.
Oh, I think it helps you offensively.
He's a better offensive player, but he's not the three-point shooter that Love is. I don't think he's going to give you the floor spacing that Love gives you.
But here's the thing with Kevin Love, okay, is that the reason that I know he's got to go is because if the Golden State Warriors go small like they did in the last game, if he can't score in the low post, he has no value to you. When you
other than if he's just hot from
and Carmelo can score in the low post.